Hi everyone. Today we will be talking about healthy eating over summer as today's wellness webinar topic. Here are just the bits that I've broken it down into today. So talking about things to be aware of as we get into summer, then we will talk a bit about hydration and why it's really important to stay hydrated, and we'll talk a bit about alcohol there as well. Then portion control, so being mindful about what you're putting on your plate. We'll then go on to some simple swaps and meal ideas, which I've put together, easy switches which won't compromise your enjoyment. And then I've also got some suggestions on how to make healthy eating fun, and ways to incorporate all the family as well. And then lastly, just some healthier barbecue and picnics ideas to boost your alfresco dining. So, starting with why summer can be a bit of a challenge. So, summer's a great time of year, but often this leads to a lot more social events and, in turn, a lot more eating opportunities. And also, weekends or days off may consist with increased alcohol consumption. Perhaps the sun's in the sky and people fancy going and sitting in a pub garden or going into the park. And this can sort of increase your temptation to perhaps not lead such a healthy, balanced diet. Heat can also affect our hydration and our digestion. For example, we may not feel as hungry in the middle of the day, and we may end up grazing on smaller and less nutritious items throughout the day. But why is summer a good thing? Summer's peak season for lots of fresh fruits and vegetables, lots of fresh produce, and which are lots more readily available. So we can also utilise these in our cooking as well. And some of the habits, if we start building them in summer, we can then look to carry these onto the autumn as well. One statistic that I found really interesting is that the average barbecue, you can consume about 3,000 calories. So to put this into perspective, I've dotted some pictures around the slide here, but this is the equivalent to two sausages, 1.5 burgers, two chicken drumsticks, 1.5 meat skewers, and a small piece of fish. And this is from a study that was carried out by Boots and the Tony Ferguson weight loss program. So not out of the ordinary for us to put those things on our plates, but it's just worth being mindful of all the little things that you put on your plate or you consume throughout the day will add up. Just so we're all aware, the average male should be consuming 2,500 calories a day, and the average female should be consuming 2,000 calories a day. So that just puts that into perspective there. So, firstly, let's talk a bit about hydration. So, we are in fact about 75% water, and this varies with age. And we need to stay hydrated for lots of different body functions. So things like temperature regulation, cooling ourselves down when we're hot, so through sweating. And in the warmer months, these needs can increase with the heat. So this is often due to us losing more fluids through things such as sweating. And we're a lot more likely to get dehydrated if we don't increase our fluid intake. So signs of dehydration that you should look out for include dizziness, headaches, lethargy, so feeling a bit tired, dry mouth, and also irritability. These can also, in the long term, lead to things like kidney stones and constipation as well. So things that we want to try and avoid. It's worth noting that drinks can be full of lots of hidden sugars, so things like sweet teas or milkshakes, fizzy drinks, and cocktails as well. But alternatives you could have are things like infused or sparkling waters or herbal iced teas. Just something to be mindful of if you do buy the flavoured waters in the supermarkets, often they can be packed full of sweeteners and be really sugary. So just something to think about there. Instead, you could actually add your own cucumber or mint to water or soda to make a nice, refreshing summer drink without the excess sugar. Different fruits and vegetables can also have a very high water content. These are things like cucumbers and tomatoes, and these can be eaten also to help keep our fluid levels topped up. So, how much water should we be consuming each day? So, we need to aim for about 1.5 to 2 litres of fluid a day. So, this, if your average glass or mug's about 200 millilitres, it's about 6 to 8 glasses a day. However, in the summer, when it's a lot warmer, we will need to be drinking more because, like I said, we're probably sweating a lot more. So, we need to make sure we keep those levels topped up. So now I just thought I would speak about alcohol. So alcohol consumption can actually also increase our chances of becoming dehydrated. This is because it is a diuretic. Caffeine is also a diuretic as well. Excess calorie consumption is also associated with alcohol through drinking and eating alongside. So I've just put up some different calorie contents of different drinks there. So pint of lager being 136 calories, similar to a medium glass of wine. And then you've got a single spirit shot being 56 calories. It's also recommended that we only have 14 units of alcohol a week. So to put that into drink terms, that's either 6 pints of beer a week or 6 glasses of medium wine a week. And it's recommended that we have those 14 units across 3 or more days. So try not to have binge drinking days. Try not to be drinking every day, but yeah, having those in moderation. I just thought I would put some different alcohol alternatives out there. There's lots of different low or no options available. Especially in the last few years, this market has absolutely grown exponentially. I've just got some pictures there, things like 00 Guinness, 00 Gin, no Secco. Often supermarkets have full or half aisles full of no and low alcohol options. So there's lots of different ones there you can be trying, and also the availability in pubs and bars and restaurants as well now. You don't have to just opt for a Coca-Cola or a lemonade. You can have those other alternatives as well. I've mentioned you could freeze berries or herbs and add these to drinks to make them more exciting. So if you are having a sparkling water, for example, adding something like that just makes the drink a bit more fun. And we don't just need to be having boring drinks like water or Coca-Cola, as I said. Again, things like tonic or soda water with a slice of lemon. And then I've also suggested you could pick something such as a functional drink like kombucha. So kombucha has potential health benefits, including improved digestion and enhanced immune function. So there are lots of those available as well on the market. So something more exciting to look out for than just a glass of water if you're trying to cut down your alcohol consumption. So next, I thought I would talk about portion control. So grazing throughout the day can often lead us to eating a lot more than we plan to. For example, those 3,000 calories at a barbecue. So just some ideas of how we can kind of limit this. Try not to skip meals beforehand. If you are going for a picnic or a barbecue, try not to think, oh, well, I won't have breakfast, so I can really enjoy myself at the barbecue. This can actually lead to you eating more in the long run because you might get to the event and be really hungry. So you'll eat a lot more. Whereas if we're making sure we have well balanced meals spaced equally throughout the day, this will help keep us kind of full and topped up as well. You can use the Eat Well guide to sort of plan how your diet should look, I guess. Ideally, filling your plate up with vegetables first, and then protein. So, protein is the smaller pink section. And then lastly, with carbohydrates. So, we want to just only be having about a third of our plate made up of carbohydrates and opting for whole grain varieties where possible. So, things like your brown rice, brown pasta, quinoa, bulgur wheat, things like that that will help keep you a bit more full and also boost your fiber intake as well. Another way that you could successfully manage portion control is by using a smaller plate, and also not piling your plate up high. So just taking what you feel like having there and then. We've probably all heard of the phrase eyes bigger than our stomach, and sometimes we end up then just grazing at the food that is left on our plate, even if we are not hungry. And lastly, try and be mindful with seconds. Are you actually hungry, or are you just taking the seconds because someone's come around with a bowl saying, oh, we need to finish this all off? So really making sure we have full awareness of our full and hunger cues can really help with portion control, and also not making sure we are overeating. So I just thought I would put together some simple swaps that we can make, and nothing that's too boring. Hopefully you will think that these are swaps that you could apply to your diet. Yeah, so firstly, I thought I'd start with ice cream, very popular. Everyone loves to have ice cream in hot weather. But could we be making our own ice lollies or having things like frozen yogurt instead? Ice lollies very easy to make at home, pouring juice or squash into molds and freezing them. And often they are a lot lower in sugar and also fat. And even just picking ice lollies from the supermarket rather than your ice creams as well, they will be slightly better for you. Next, crisps. I know often when you go to the park around to people's houses, it's very common for people to have big bowls of crisps for people to dip into. But how about we chop up lots of different colourful vegetables and have them with hummus or maybe a homemade tzatziki. So having things like carrots, celery, cucumber, peppers, you can make the plate look really bright and attractive, but without the crisps. Next, fizzy drinks. So um, I've touched on this a bit with alcohol alternatives, but things like sparkling water with added lemon, using no added sugar, squash, anything really that you can pick over those very highly calorific and highly sugary drinks. Lastly, beef burgers. So we've all been advised that we should be cutting down our red meat consumption. So can we be picking lean meat to put on the barbecue, things like chicken or turkey, or even having plant-based burgers? There's so many different varieties out there now in supermarkets. You don't always have to go for ones made out of mycoprotein, but you could have like a chickpea burger, or this picture here is a beetroot burger. So you still get that nice texture that's similar to meat, but instead it's all made from vegetables, so likely to be lower in saturated fat, but also a good source of fibre. I then have put together a kind of quick meal and snack idea for the day. So things like having yogurt with granola and berries for breakfast. You could be having berries from that are in season. Strawberries at the minute are all grown in the UK, so can you be having some British strawberries on there? And this will provide you with a good balance of protein, carbohydrates, fibre, vitamins, and also at least one of your 5 a day. Protein is really important for the growth and repair of our muscles, and ideally we want to be having some at every meal. Next, for lunch, something like a grilled chicken wrap with salad using whole grains. So could you have couscous or could you have a wholemeal wrap? Again, this will help to provide you with a good balance of protein, carbohydrates, and 1 to 2 of your 5 a day. You're really packing all the veggies in there and also having a good salad as well. Snacks, a homemade trail mix can be a great idea. So a selection of different nuts, cashews, peanuts, almonds, and then some dried fruit in there as well. This will help provide you with healthy fats and also protein. Then dinner, could we have some salmon? So it's recommended that everyone has at least 1 portion of oily fish a week. So salmon is an oily fish, so counts towards that. Having this with veggies and rice, perhaps, or some other whole grains, something like quinoa or brown rice, and that can be a really good balanced meal and help to keep you full overnight. Also will provide you with omega-3 from the salmon. So omega-3 is really important for cognitive brain function. Again, healthy fats, protein, carbs, and also 1 to 2 of your 5 a day. All of these meal ideas are also low in saturated fat, so not helping to avoid the consumption of excess calories. So just an easy meal plan there. You could easily swap things out. For example, you wouldn't necessarily have to have chicken, you could have roasted vegetables for your lunch, or things like if you roast chickpeas, they can give a really nice crunchy texture to add on top of a wrap. Breakfast, things like your whole grain cereals. Yogurt just helps to really give that protein source. You can also use milk as well in there. Kefir yogurt as well, that can be another option. So yeah, hopefully that just gives you a nice idea of some things that you can be having quick and easy to put together. So then I spoke that I would talk about how to make healthy eating fun. So I've just got some ideas here that you can help to get all the family involved in. Firstly is mindful eating. So for those of you that attended our wellness webinar last month, all about mindfulness, mindful eating is all about being aware of your surroundings, and especially when you're being outdoors. Where are you sat? What is the view like? What can you hear, taste, smell? This is sort of how you can practice mindful eating and really make yourself aware of your situation. Cooking at home more often where you can. I know we're all very busy, often quite time poor, so can you be thinking of some quick and easy meals that you can put together? Again, batch cooking can be your friend here. For example, you could start off with a bean chili, and then you could put it into a burrito. It's all about utilizing things that you can have on multiple occasions and still jazz them up, so you're not just having the same thing over and over again. I think batch cooking people often associate with having the same thing for days on end, but there's definitely ways that you can still make it exciting. Again, involving kids or the rest of the family in meal prep, this can be good to get kids used to helping in the kitchen, understanding where their food comes from, and also probably more likely to eat it if they've had if they've put some effort into cooking it as well. Another way to keep healthy eating fun is keeping healthy snacks to hand. So often, if we're out and about, especially with children during the school holidays, having things like fruit or nuts that we can give them rather than succumbing to having to buy a chocolate bar or an ice cream if we're out and about. Yogurt is also a good option there as well. Another one I mentioned about having in-season fruit or vegetables. Is there a local farmers market you can go to, where you could get the kids or family to kind of pick what fruit they'd like to have that week? And again, looking at supermarket labels, most supermarkets will be trying to sell lots of homegrown local produce, so British strawberries, British raspberries, things like that. So you can have a look at the labels to try and get British grown fruits and veg. And then also, could you go to a pick your own farm? So there's lots of these dotted across the country. It's a great day out and gets kids to know where their food comes from. Then you could go home and make it into something nice. I know before I've gone and picked my own strawberries and then added them to yogurt and almost made my own strawberry frozen yogurt. So it's a really good way to get all the family involved and have a fun day out. Some snack ideas that you could do to help with healthy eating, making it more enjoyable. Things like making your own ice lollies. So I've mentioned these before. So pouring fruit juice or diluted squash or smoothie, or even using fruit tea, such as a raspberry tea, into molds and then freezing those. So you've always got ice lollies on hand, especially with this really warm weather we've been having recently. It's quite nice to have an ice lolly in the afternoon. Another thing is cutting up tortilla wraps into triangles and then baking them in the oven. These serve as sort of a healthier crisp option. They're not deep fried, and you could pair them with a homemade tzatziki. So this can be really easy to make with a Greek yogurt, preferably 0% fat, some cucumber, minced garlic, and also lemon juice, or whatever dips you like to make yourself. People quite like to make their own hummus or an aubergine-based dip. You can have a Google online and see what you think your family would like the most. So next, I've got the tips on how to have a healthier barbecue or picnic. So first, starting with our protein choice, we want to try and have protein with every meal, but we want to try and pick lean proteins here. So things like chicken breast, preferably having skinless chicken breast, that's a very good lean choice. Fish, so things such as tuna, salmon, mackerel are all very rich in omega-3, which I spoke about being very important for cognitive brain function. Turkey burgers, everyone loves a burger on the barbecue, but turkey is a lower fat option than your beef patties. And then also marinating on meat. So we want to make sure that the barbecue tastes lovely, but can we be marinating in things such as olive oil or herbs, using citrus fruits like lemon or even orange, and spices as well, rather than just reaching for those sugary sauces. Things like barbecue especially can be a really sugary sauce that we want to try and avoid. Next, we'll talk about sides. So one of the great things about having a barbecue is all the lovely salads and sides we can have with it. So having fresh salads with a variety of greens, perhaps adding some fruit and nuts in there, and then using a light vinaigrette rather than something really like a really mayo heavy dressing. That can be a good idea. Then some grilled vegetables, asparagus, corn on the cob, aubergines, all brushed with olive oil, put on the barbecue. They have a nice char grilled flavour, but also quite exciting and different as well. And then opting for whole grain options. So can you choose brown or whole grain buns for the burgers? And then things like quinoa salads or couscous for a fibre rich dish as well on the side. Next is what about embracing plant-based options, things like veggie kebabs. You could get the kids to help with this as well, cutting up lots of different colourful vegetables, things like peppers, courgettes, cherry tomatoes, and load up the skewers and then put these on the barbecue. Another good alternative for burgers is using portobello mushrooms. So they're the big mushrooms that you get, and they can have quite a meaty texture. And they're perfect for going on the barbecue. And then you can pop one of them inside your whole grain bun with some salad. That would be a really nice plant-based burger option. And then also on the burger theme, things like bean burgers. So black bean or chickpeas are very high in fiber and also protein. So you're not compromising by not having meat. You're still getting your protein source, but they are just a slightly healthier option. Then next we have healthier condiments and sauces. So trying to move away from really mayo heavy things. And instead, could you make your own homemade barbecue sauce? I mentioned that can be really high in sugar. So using something like a bit of tomato paste, apple cider vinegar, a small amount of honey and spices, you can have your very own homemade barbecue sauce. Using Greek yogurt as an alternative to mayonnaise also gives you that creamy flavour, but without the excess calories. Can also be a good base for dressings instead of mayo or even sour cream. And then lastly, making your own salsa. So rather than buying a jarred or tinned one, cutting up some tomatoes with onions, coriander and lime juice can help to add a really nice zesty kick, again, without the excess calories. So then I've just got some healthier drinks and treats as well. So talking about drinks, spoken about this quite a lot already, but just some ideas that I thought I'd put down. Infusing water. So can you pour a big bottle or a big jug and infuse it with fruits, maybe lemon, cucumber, or berries? This can be a very nice, refreshing, but low calorie and sugar-free option. It's all about kind of making these options taste nice and also looking good as well, and making them really appealing. So we want to reach for those over the fizzy drink options. Brewing herbal teas and then having them over ice, again, potentially with a splash of lemon or mint, are another good alternative to sugary soft drinks. And then lastly, just simply having sparkling water and adding a bit of fresh fruit juice is another way to have a good, healthy and hydrating drink. Again, with the infused waters that I mentioned earlier, but just a reminder, try to make your own, as shop bought ones are often very packed full of sugars. So sort of defeats the point of not having a fizzy drink instead. So then for some sweet treats, everyone likes pudding in the summer, but what slightly healthier options can we be picking instead? We could be grilling fruit on the barbecue, so things like pineapple, peaches, and also watermelon can all develop this delicious, lovely, rich caramelized flavour when grilled. And we can serve this with a dollop of Greek yogurt instead of ice cream. Fruit salad is another popular option, can satisfy your sweet tooth, but also without the added extra sugars. And then again, frozen yogurt. So this can be a lower calorie option as well. So then I've just put some takeaways to kind of summarize today's presentation. Make sure you're staying hydrated, especially in this hot weather. We don't want to be getting dizzy or having constipation. And also think about your alcohol and fizzy drink consumption, trying to drink more low and no alcohol options, swapping those out, and just generally keeping your hydration levels topped up. Try to be mindful in what you're eating, so whether that's managing your portion sizes or grazing throughout the day. And I just want to reiterate, it's not necessarily about overhauling your diet completely. It's just simple swaps that we can make. So going back to this few slides ago, instead of picking the ice creams up in the supermarket, can you pick the ice lollies? So all these small, simple steps that will have a big difference. Making sure you are having consistent balanced meals, so lean proteins, whole grains, and fruit and vegetables. This will help to fuel you and give you energy for the day, but also to make sure you stay full and you're not getting hungry and wanting to reach for that chocolate bar in the afternoon. And lastly, try and get the family all involved in the kitchen and make healthy snacks together, and it will be a lot more enjoyable. I should also say, most importantly, summer is a brilliant time to catch up with friends and family and socialise. So do make sure you enjoy yourself. It doesn't all have to be boring. And I really hope that today's presentation has shown you that. There are lots of different avenues you can take to make sure that you're still able to have a balanced diet, but still able to get involved and celebrate with friends and family as well. So that was the end of today's wellness webinar. Thank you so much for joining me. We do just have a feedback QR code, which I would be really grateful if you could scan. It helps us to shape presentations going forwards, and make sure that what we're kind of bringing is what people want to listen to as well. And if you have found today's wellness webinar useful, do let all your colleagues know, and they can join us for the next one in August. Or alternatively, they can go and watch this one, which will be uploaded onto our YouTube channel as well. I don't think we have got any questions coming through, so I will probably close the webinar here. Thank you all very much for joining me. I hope you have a good rest of the afternoon and have got a few tips to take in to enjoy your summer, but also staying healthy while you're at it. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining.